Hello?
We've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty.
In my experience, most people find out about Dead by Daylight through the milk of human kindness. Someone patient says that it's a great way to kill time, and then it punches you straight in the stomach, you fall over, and decide you're not going to let it fucking beat you. I have spent as much time as humanly possible playing Dead by Daylight, but I'm going to try something different. New ground. I'm going to try to explain this game for a mobile player that essentially has no clue what it is. Also, this video was sponsored by Dead by Daylight Mobile. Here's a link in the description. So what is Dead by Daylight Mobile? Well, it's Dead by Daylight, on mobile. You choose to play as either a survivor to run and hide, or a killer that needs to chase and find. Killers employ a character-specific power to hunt their prey, while survivors fight back with the environment. It's a horror simulation. It attempts to grab the spirit of a spooky game while attempting to maintain a level of depth for the people who like to play it over and over. Survivors have 5 generators to repair, while the killer needs to smack the survivors on the top of the head and convince them that these meat hooks are a better use of their time. Each survivor can be hooked 3 times. Every time a survivor is hooked, they need to be rescued by their teammates. The first hook is fine, the second hook a bit less, third hook kills them instantly. A darkness holding them, a creature they cannot understand consuming them into a swarm of pain, confusion, and panic. Then the survivor replies, "Was that my stop?" Believe it or not, this hooking mechanic is the crux that all of Dead by Daylight stands on. It enforces a sense of teamwork between the survivors, while the killer wants to make sure that this is the end for them, which often manifests as camping. Typically, the killer actually wants to get 3 separate hooks on all survivors, overwhelming them with damage so that they can't focus on generators. But it's just as easy to listen to some songs on YouTube and stand right in front of the poor guy. Camping is a pretty big problem, and we're talking to newer players. Here's how you counter it. You don't. The guy has to die, and you have to accept it by doing the generators, then leaving. It's a cold, cutthroat business world. But don't worry, you're not gonna let it beat you, are you? If the killer and a survivor happen to meet, a chase starts. The killer wants to introduce a sharp piece of metal to the survivor's skin, and the survivors want to run away as far as possible, then hide. The killer is typically faster than the survivor, meaning that as time goes on, eventually the chase will go in their favor. Based on what killer you're playing, the options are different. For example, with the trapper, you need to find dark patches of grass for his traps, or set them up to the previously mentioned pallets and windows to deny them later on, which means you can chase people relatively mindlessly, just don't step in your own trap. Hitting the survivor will slow the killer for a brief second and give the survivor a speed boost so that they can try to reset. Survivors have 2 weapons available to them, pallets and windows. Pallets are pieces of wood that can be dropped down, stunning the killer on contact and creating a roadblock between the 2 of you. The killer needs to perform a brief interaction to shatter this pallet. Windows are small gaps in the walls that survivors can quickly jump through, but the killer must slowly vault them. Of course, then you get to the part where you daisy chain pallets and windows together, and then you win. Congratulations. Chases don't always have the goal of escape. When you start off, a good crouch might help you lose the killer, but a more experienced one will take note of the clues you leave behind. Things like the scratch marks on the walls and floors, the blood trail injured survivors leave behind, and even their breathing. Once the killer has a basic grasp of these concepts, hiding from them is all but impossible. Your goals are to waste as much time as possible or get them to give up on you. You do these by chaining together windows and pallets until the killer can't take it anymore. As a killer, your job is to try and predict where the survivor is going to go and cut them off. You need to try and get inside your target's heads, if they want to use a window or hit you with a pallet or attempt to buy time for a generator. The killer power has multiple ways of influencing them. It can guide them in certain directions. The trapper deploys bear traps that can capture survivors for you, or you can pick a stealth killer if you want to start the chase off with a surprise attack. Time management is the key to playing the killer role. You need to decide when to chase survivors. A smart one might take too long to catch and throw away precious time. At the start, it's pretty safe to take any chases because survivors are likely taking in the environment and learning the game, but the more they play, the more the environment just becomes game space. They waste less time and get on generators so that they can escape. The killer needs to deal enough damage to slow them down. Keep them preoccupied with healing and hooks, otherwise they'll have nothing to do but the objective. The killers have a bunch of different attributes. Let me introduce you to them. The trapper sets traps for when the sun is pointed at their screens. The wraith becomes invisible and moves faster, giving him ambush potential. The hillbilly that can sprint with his chainsaw and instantly down targets. The nurse GG Go Next, the hag that can set a network of traps that allow her to teleport to them, the doctor for grinding blood points by shocking survivors and increasing their madness, the huntress for the Apex mobile players, the clown, the spirit that disappears and reappears randomly, allowing her to make impressive plays as long as she can make the prediction, so GG Go Next with a cute bow, the legion that can enter a long dash that inflicts a bleeding effect and can chain it to other survivors, the plague who spreads a deadly virus that weakens survivors over time, the oni who drains the blood of his enemies and enters a rage mode, and finally the trickster, who is the huntress, but you add 6 Bs to the speed bump. Then a bunch of other killers that they're still porting from PC. Once you get into the game, everyone's favorite pastime will be guessing who the next killer will be. Sometimes it's a special licensed character from a movie, and if it's not a licensed character, it will be an original, and if they can't guess an original killer, they will do it themselves. People will write their new killer ideas on a piece of paper and ask every person in a 32-mile radius what they think of it. Dead by Daylight Mobile is going to be getting its next update soon, the next era of horror, which introduces Sadako from The Ring, a whole bunch of new cosmetic items, reshades the maps, and ties into the next section of this video, the horror. The closer the killer gets to the survivor, the louder the terror radius gets. This is symbolized by a heart icon, which gets more vibrant until the danger is right on top of you. It's a slow building of tension that erupts into the chase. Each killer can bring a different kind of terror to the match. You might be afraid of the hillbilly's chainsaw in close quarters, but killers like the Huntress can reach you from all over the map, or the hag whose network of booby traps turns every corner into a threat. The mobile version also comes with tons of cool stuff like the Moris you might have seen on Twitter. The user interface provides all the buttons. There's an especially useful one as Survivor that helps you look straight behind you. It does take a bit of getting used to. I missed a lot of swings that I expected to hit, but God said skill issue and I said amen. Also, if one of you goes to my comments section and brings up the battery percentage, just know that we wouldn't be friends in real life. The biggest difference for Dead by Daylight Mobile, though, is the people playing it. I'm sure you know this, but we aren't talking about the same audience here. This is not the land of pro players, gently waiting for the day they're at the top of the subreddit. Many of the people I attacked didn't even understand the concept of saving people, and the match was tense because I couldn't control my phone yet, so I swung around like a drunken sailor. Instead of loading in with a lobby full of angry Twitch streamers, you have people on the bus and kids with their mom's phone, which brings up the point that giving you advice is a bad idea, that the DBD tryhards would descend upon these people like locusts and ravage their happiness until it's just as poisoned as everywhere else. I have brought you to a new Eden and given you lead. And what do you poison it with? Loadouts. Dead by Daylight Mobile lets you equip up to 4 perks, then an offering and 2 add-ons for the survivor tools or killer power. And these are not tiny buffs. The perk set is about 50% of your build. Maybe more. Killer perks can stall generators, end chases, or debuff survivors, while survivor perks help teamwork and make chasing them more difficult. One of my favorite parts of survivor gameplay is the detective part, where you need to try and infer what the killer's build is based on what you know. For example, a killer that is hooking a survivor as the hag and making a ton of distance from them might be carrying the extremely dangerous Hex Devour Hope. A killer playing risky during the end game might have no one escapes death. Then you compare that with what you know of the current meta and try to match all 4 of the perk slots. Killers don't need to do this as much as their counterparts. But there is one kind of perk that makes all the difference: exhaustion perks. This is an ability that provides a major chase bonus, but in different ways. Sprint Burst is very different to Dead Hard, and Dead Hard is very different to Head On, and 2 of those perks wish they were Dead Hard. You need to purchase items from the store to level up. Everything in the game has a rarity system, with brown items for basic stuff, yellow for real items, green for decent stuff, purple ones for small game changers that rework your power, and red ones that are very rare but make up for it by being unbalanced. It's a cycle of going into the trials, learning what perks you like, buying more stuff, learning what perks you hate to go against, rinse, repeat until you finally get up, tell the game it hasn't beaten you, and it says, "Yes, I have." Then it leaves you with only one question. Is it good? Look, everyone hates the game, but that's closer to love than you think. On the same bone, if you are new to DBD, there's a chance you might still get scared by the game. And hey, that's fair. Nothing gets me mortified than taking an L than looking to my right and seeing that the small child was staring at my screen the whole time. Dead by Daylight gives a lot of room for player expression in its builds. The horror still has an emotional core to it, and there's a real fun in scurrying about trying to counter builds. Also, they don't have boons yet. I've got a link below to the Dead by Daylight mobile download. I recommend it. It's the same game you know and love, but on mobile. Game's coming up on a major update again, introducing Sadako and a host of new features, and if none of that works for you, If you're still gonna stick to the PC and don't want to try the mobile, could I at least interest you in this extended warranty? Hey, thanks for watching. I'd like to give a quick shout out to the people on Patreon who make videos like this possible. I'd especially like to thank Walker, Noah Upton, Faye Lynn, Mai Reed, and Mario Fan 997. Take care of yourselves, I'm sure you're doing your best, and I hope to see you guys again sometime soon.